Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Emily and this is my channel, The Candle Nurse. In today's video, we are kicking off our Let's Talk About the Scents series for the upcoming pre-order, the Survivor of Jericho Hill blends. The Survivor of Jericho Hill is loosely inspired by Stephen King's The Dark Tower series, which is a series of 8 books that Stephen King has written over his lifespan. He says is one of his greatest works that he has published. I am a huge fan of his books, and I will be getting into a little bit more about that as right before I start getting into the fragrances and describing them. Let's talk about the date that the pre-order is going to be open. So the pre-order is going to be open this Friday, August 23rd from 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and will remain open until the following Friday, August 30th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The sizes that are going to be offered is different types of sizes. I'll quickly go over the names of them. If you want to head to my website, we'll post my website up here and link it in the description down below. If you want to go check out the website, there's a blog post that has all the information. You can also go head over to the upcoming scents and new releases, and that will also give you the entire list of everything that we're going to be talking about in our video series. Okay, so the different sizes, we're going to be offering the 6 shape, the Serenity shape bags that we offered in the launch. Serenity to me is the name of the color that I use for my wax. That's just a standard color. It's my favorite color. I use it regardless of the type of fragrance blend that we use. I've kind of just standardized it and I'm sticking with it. I've played around a little bit with other colors, but that one is just Tranquil. It's my very favorite color of all time. And I'm just gonna go ahead and we're gonna keep the Serenity color in all of our offerings. So there'll be a 6 count shape bag, an 18 count shape bag. The 6 count shape bag is 4 ounces. The 18 count shape bag is 12 ounces. Those bags are really wonderful for people that aren't wanting loaves or souffles or a mini souffle, that are not interested in chopping and love the idea of having the wax ready to go to put in their warmer. We will be offering 4 ounce mini souffles, and we will be offering 8 ounce regular souffles. They're not tubs. We're not doing the plastic tubs with the lid on it. It's just going to be a bigger iteration of the mini souffle, and you will receive 8 ounces or a little bit over that. It's approximate in that iteration. And then finally, we'll be offering 12 ounce loaves for those of you that like to store easier maybe and like to have your loaves ready to go so that you can chop the size of piece that you really want to use yourself versus the bun sizes, trying to figure out what works for you. So we've got a little bit of something for everyone that we wanted to try this time around, and we'll see how it goes. But hopefully that is the feedback that I got in the sizes that should be provided. The wax formula is actually going to stay the same between the shapes and in the souffles. We do have a little bit of a harder formula, and so I bring up that because if you're going to chop, you will be able to chop. There will be a little bit of crumbles when you chop. If you do warm up the wax slightly in the microwave outside of the tin, just fair warning, don't warm it up in the tin. Take it out of the tin, warm it up for 15 seconds each side, and you should be able to cut through it very easily with the wax chopper that you have. So I think that's it for that. Pricing is $1.80 per ounce. And then if you go to the website, again, you'll be able to see like the breakdown of the prices offered for each size. We are now shipping international to our friends up north in Canada. So I have some friends on YouTube and people that I'm friends with on social media that live in Canada. I have family in Canada that we were unable to do launch fragrances. Trying to figure that out didn't happen for the launch. However, we've got it fixed and it is available as of right now with the ready to ship inventory that we currently have. I do want to say that when the pre-order launches, the ready to ship that we currently have is going to be deactivated while the pre-order is open. And then after the pre-order closes, those items will be added back to the website for your purchase during the pre-order turnaround time. So that goes into the next thing, is our pre-order turnaround time. We are scheduling 6 weeks. We hope to beat that tat if we can, but 6 weeks seems to be a sweet spot. Our shipping is 10 business days. That's not including holidays or weekends. So without further ado, let's get into our fragrances and what we're offering. The Survivor of Jericho Hill series has 30 blends that will be available for purchase in all different sizes. I have 29 of the blends readily available. I added a 30th blend last minute, and so that one is not readily available for me to share with you, but I do have scent notes, descriptions that I can go over with you in the third video in place of it. That way you kind of have an idea of the description. And then we now are also offering 10 popular signature blends from the launch. These are blends that 5 blends were voted by the Facebook group. So thank you so much for everyone that participated. Our Facebook group is growing and I'm so grateful. The other 5 were curated by my husband and I based off of popularity, requests, that type of thing. So we'll have those 10 that we'll breeze over in the third video that will kind of take place of the 30th fragrance spot and talk about what the offerings will be, and that way you guys have an idea when the pre-order opens. And then lastly, the first 50 customers to make a purchase can get 10% off of their order using the code DARKTOWER10. Again, the first 50 orders that are purchased will get 10% off if you use the code DARKTOWER10, which I will make sure I highlight here in the video. All right, so The Dark Tower is a series of books that were introduced to me by my mother-in-law. I'm very close to her. She's Nita Siren. She's Nana. She is my friend. She is my parent, my parental person that I look up to. She's kind of like all around everything to me and super important. She introduced me when I got out of the military about Stephen King's Dark Tower. I really needed something to distract myself in the transition going from full-time military into a civilian life, which was very difficult for me. As I got out, my husband Billy was still in. He was in for a further 6-7 months and he had to go on deployment, and we had just had a baby. So there was a lot happening in my life at that time. My mother-in-law is a huge fan of Stephen King, and she's the reason why I fell in love with him and started engaging in reading. I was not a big reader growing up in books. I was really my own block in my own way with the wonders and the imagination and just how amazing reading books, like how it just opens up doors for you in language, in writing, and imagination, and understanding, basically there you can believe in magic, you can believe in fantasy. There's just a whole genre. There's thriller, that type of thing. One thing I love about Stephen King and what he does very well is he takes a lot of different genres and he puts it into one. A lot of times when people think about Stephen King, they think about horror or thriller. You think about It. You think about The Stand. There's so many iconic movies that have been made based off his novels. Stephen King, for everywhere from Salem's Lot to Hearts in Atlantis to The Green Mile, you have Stand By Me, you've got 1408, which was a short story that was made into a movie. He just has a vast variety. I mean, we could just go on and on with his writings. He does have a way of having a mysterious, darker side to him. But if you read his work, there's always lightness, there's always a little bit of comedy, there's a little bit of romance, there's the darkness that you find within, the demons. There's demons, and not necessarily in the form of demons like in a supernatural sense, but like your own darkness, your own demons that come to light, and how people prevail and how they really grow and transform. His characters are very iconic. So it's really funny because back when we started getting into reading The Dark Tower, I was doing some research and there was like a convention with Stephen King where they were going over It. I think it was the new movie. They were talking to an audience and he asked who in this audience has read It. Who in this audience has read Salem's Lot? And almost everybody there was raising their hands. And then he said, how many of you have read The Dark Tower? And I mean, it was just so few. This is his like magnum opus. This is his life's work. He wrote the first book when he was 19 and finished the last book in 2012. There's 8 books in this series. It's incredible. So I want to kind of read over something that I put together that if you watched the live, thank you so much to the ladies that had a live on their YouTube. Steph Loves Live, Alexis, Summer, Christine, Sensing, Dazzling Sense with Chris, I hope I'm not missing anybody. Thank you guys so much for having me on a live panel to talk about these scents. So I kind of read over this initial part, but I think in this series we get to dive a little bit deeper into the scents, right? And so the man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. That is the statement. That is the bolded first opening sentence in the Gunslinger book. So it says the Dark Tower series tells the story of Roland Duchesne. He's Midworld's last gunslinger who is traveling southeast across Midworld's post-apocalyptic landscape, searching for the powerful but elusive magical edifice known as the Dark Tower. Located in the Fey region of Endworld, amid a sea of singing red roses, the Dark Tower is the nexus point of the time-space continuum. It is the heart of all worlds, but it is also under threat. Someone or something is using the evil technology of the Great Old Ones to destroy it. And it says, inspired in equal parts by Robert Browning's poem, Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came, J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and Sergio Leone's spaghetti western classics. The Dark Tower series is an epic of Arthurian proportions. It is Stephen King's magnum opus and is the center of his amazing creative universe. I think that gives a really nice introduction into the Dark Tower series. So Roland Duchesne, how I can describe him, he is a character that in the way that he is described is he is like tall, thin, and ugly is how one of the other characters describes him. He's also kind of described as Clint Eastwood in Dirty Harry, that type of Western. He's got sandalwood grip guns that he carries on both sides of him. He's just kind of what you would think of as the American Western cowboy who is seeking justice, right? That's who he is. He is a gunslinger. He is the last known gunslinger. And there's a whole story behind how that became, which I highly suggest to read the books. I'm trying not to give too many spoilers away, but I have to kind of go into a little bit of description to explain to you guys, like maybe the reasoning behind my sense. I really highly suggest you check his books out. I will put down a disclaimer. His first book is kind of slow to get through. You really have to get through the second book, Drawing of the Three, and then you realize the importance of the first book and how much you kind of go back to it and go, I see. So the Dark Tower is really just a wonderful mix. You have dark fantasy, you have science fiction, you've got thriller, you've got romance. It's kind of like a nice mixture, a nice blend, if you will, of different genres. And it really inspired me. I don't know, I'm connected to these books and the story of Roland. I really love Stephen King, and there's a part of Stephen King in one of his books. I also have the audiobooks, because the guy that he has reading them is an incredible voice actor. So if you can't read the books but want to listen, that's another great option. He talks about how Roland Duchesne, since he was 19 and he read that poem as an undergraduate, Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came, that Roland is somebody that haunts him in his dreams. And every time he tries to end his story, he haunts him. There's more to his story, and he still has left it open to being more to his story. Something that's really awesome is a lot of his other work kind of stems from the Dark Tower series, or they join in. If it's something that he wrote before the book, he somehow was able to finish stories of other stories. It's just like a multiverse. So it's just kind of a really cool concept that I enjoy, and I'm just very connected to this story. I think there's some people out there that don't think it's that great, but if you're into fantasy or anything in that way, I think you should definitely check it out. So I think this is going to be a 3-part series. I'm going to do 10 fragrances in each video. So I will start off with the first scent, which is 1999. So the meaning behind 1999, the first book of the series, The Gunslinger, was written and published by Stephen King at age 19. This led him to choosing the number 19 to be an importance throughout the whole saga. The number 99 and the number 1999 is significant, as Stephen King was hit by a car on June 19, 1999 that almost ended his life. The accident is explained in the 6th book called Song of Susanna. So the fragrances for this blend is Beach After Dark, which is my house blend, roasted pine cones, wedding cake, fire roasted marshmallows, sugar cookie royale, and vanilla birch. I made them in little clams. These are my testers, but I wanted to be able to smell them to talk to you guys. This series, because of the manner of it being outdoorsy, post-apocalyptic scenario, camping, all that type of stuff. I was like, I've done a lot of woods. I've worked with woods. I've been very inspired by that. Some sweetness, some woods. I do have a variety of fragrances here that are a little bit more perfumey, a little elevated, but you're gonna notice that I use a lot of the fire roasted marshmallows in these fragrances, a lot of woods. So this one's very beautiful. So right out the gate, the Beach After Dark is like the showstopper, but what's really nice is it's mixed with the roasted pine cones. The wedding cake and the sugar cookie royale are definitely in the background that add just a little bit of sweetness that keep this from being overly sharp, overly tree. We've got the vanilla birch, which you somewhat get a hint of it in your fire roasted marshmallows. Now, Beach After Dark has fire roasted marshmallows in it, but I love to add extra fire roasted marshmallows. This is very sweet, woodsy, not Christmas sweet, not necessarily tree sweet. That Beach After Dark is really prominent in this one, and yeah, I love that. So I'm really excited for you guys to try that. Okay, next up is Aim With My Eye. So I'll read the meaning behind it. I hope it's not cheesy, but I wanted to, like, I don't know, give you guys like a background. So aim with my eye, shoot with my mind, kill with the heart is the essence of the gunslinger litany. So the gunslinger creed is, I do not aim with my hand. He who aims with his hand has forgotten the face of his father. I aim with my eye, which is the name of this blend. I do not shoot with my hand. He who shoots with his hand has forgotten the face of his father. I shoot with my mind. I do not kill with my gun. He who kills with his gun has forgotten the face of his father. I kill with my heart. So I wrote down some notes for the meaning of the Gunslinger Creed, because this is something that's just like gives you chills when you're reading or listening, especially when you're listening to the audiobook and the voice actor is in the moments where, Roland has to protect, right? That's his job. He's a peacekeeper. He's a protector of the Dark Tower. He's trying to fight off those who are trying to bring it down, which the Dark Tower is at the nexus of everything. It's essentially balance, right? It's balance, and that we have to have it in order to keep our world safe and all the other multi-world, the other worlds safe. And some of them have not been saved. And so that's his goal, is to try to save the world. And so my thought was, I do not aim with my hand. So my thought is, I have eliminated muscle memory issues and must learn to trust to assess the targets I can see quickly and efficiently. When you draw a gun, you must feel there to be no other necessary options. Then the next part is, I do not shoot with my hand, which is, I can quickly think over and overcome fight or flight and only shoot if absolutely necessary. To me, this is what the thought is behind the Gunslinger's Creed. And then I do not kill with my gun, which is, if I do shoot my gun, I must be prepared to take a life and take responsibility of all the repercussions that happen if and when this happens. I'm ex-military. I had to learn these rules a long time ago, because the aim with the eye is it's the creed of the gunslinger, that if you do enjoy the series, you'll hear it a lot. That is why I chose that as a blend name. I was very inspired by it. So Aim With My Eye is vanilla birch, Palo Santo, fire roasted marshmallows, and iced vanilla woods. So right off the gate, you do get your iced vanilla woods, but it's not totally taking over the fragrance, because you have a beautiful blend of iced vanilla woods and vanilla birch. The Palo is in the background. It's giving it more of a foundation to keep it in this woodsy scent profile. But the fire roasted marshmallows really give you this roasty, toasty marshmallow fragrance to add. It's not super ooey gooey, but it just adds enough to say, hey, come on back, and your senses enjoy it. It's a wonderful fall and winter fragrance and really beautiful. All right, next up is Beyond Worlds. I had to be careful with the titles of my wax blends, the title of the series, and how I'm inspired by it, because I don't want to take credit for something that somebody else has done for Stephen King. So Beyond Worlds basically simplifies King's imagination and writings of a multiverse, and is a take on a quote from his first book, which is, "Go then, there are other worlds than these." This is a pivotal moment in the first book that will pull on your heartstrings. I definitely had to take that and make my own blend and use it somehow to inspire a fragrance. So the fragrance notes for Beyond Worlds is grapefruit, pink pepper, lemon, mango, coconut, rice, vetiver, and tonka bean. Don't let the fragrances scare you. This is a very elevated, luxurious perfume type fragrance. It is so beautiful. You get a wonderful mix of the pink pepper, adds just a little bit of a spice. The lemon is not sharp. The mango and coconut, you get a rice note, is what is giving this more of a brightness of a perfume fragrance. The vetiver is what really grounds it, right? It adds a little bit of depth so that this fragrance doesn't fly high to the sky, if that makes any sense. It's beautiful, it's feminine. The grapefruit is not ruby red grapefruit. The fruit in here is very well balanced. The way I described it on the live yesterday was, if you were a fan of like a Chanel Chance, I really think you're gonna be a fan of this. This is not a dupe for Chanel Chance, but if you're into that type of body fragrance, that I think this would be a really wonderful iteration that would be great in home fragrance for your home. It's very beautiful. Okay, next up is Callahan in the Woods. So Callahan in the Woods, the meaning behind that is Father Callahan is the main character of King's Salem's Lot. In Salem's Lot, Callahan is a priest who fights vampires and eventually leaves the town, presumably never to be seen again. However, he reappears in the 5th and 6th Dark Tower books, where his faith is restored and seems to find peace. He also helps Roland and his quartet on their quest in the Dark Tower. So, that is Callahan in the Woods. Our scent notes are creamy vanilla, smoky woods, fresh lavender, fire roasted marshmallow, and vanilla birch, along with boardwalk marshmallow clouds. So we get the boardwalk marshmallow clouds, you do get some smoky woods, and a hint of lavender that is going to be on our top. The vanilla birch is not too prominent on cold, but it's in there. There's something that the boardwalk marshmallow clouds does to this scent, which is why I wanted to add it to a little bit of a woodsy. I think when I think of the Callahan in the Woods, or Father Callahan, and how he went through a lot of trauma, he went through a lot of horror to be able to find peace and restore his faith. That's something I kind of wanted to do, where it's woodsy, it's smoky, it's a little bit charred, but then in the background, pulling through, is your boardwalk marshmallow clouds, which is just like your ooey gooey marshmallow with some magnolia. And so that tiny bit of floral component does something different to this fragrance. It's smoky, it's creamy, it's woody, and it's beautiful. Callahan in the Woods. All right, number 5 I have is Desert Dwellers. The Dwellers are people who live beyond the town of Toll. Toll is a town that's talked about in the first book, The Gunslinger. Just before the dry wastes of the Mohaine Desert, one of the Dwellers, Brown, visits with Roland and his journey in the first book to pursue the Man in Black. Brown provides Roland shelter, food, and company for a night. During this interaction, you learn a lot about Roland's quest to catch the Man in Black. So our scent notes are crackling birch, salty sea air, fire roasted marshmallows, and Palo Santo. So something that was really inspiring about the Desert Dwellers is because this man Brown is a good figure in the beginning of the book, that it has something, there's a whole like different speech that kind of happens in this book that you learn about, and it kind of goes in and explains it. So there's high speech and low speech. There's a word called palaver, and palaver is where you just hunker down and you're having over wine or food or pipe smoke or something, just having good conversations, discussing life, decompressing, what you're looking forward to in the future. That's a palaver. So when I read the backstory of that and created Desert Dwellers, the scent notes are crackling birch, salty sea air, fire roasted marshmallows, and Palo Santo. I kind of wanted to recreate this palaver that was happening between him and the Desert Dweller. And something I really love about the crackling birch scent note that, or oil that I have, there's a little bit more of like a cinnamon bark take to it. It's a spicy wood right out the gate. And then you get the salty brininess of the salty sea air that adds just a little bit of freshness, a little bit of clean. And then again, fire roasted marshmallows. I think this is fire roasted marshmallow heaven if anybody's interested. And then the Palo Santo really rounds it out. It's more of a smoky Palo Santo, and that creamy Palo Santo that blends really well with sweet notes. If you like a little bit of spice, I think you're gonna really like this fragrance. Number 6 is called Drawing of the Three. So Drawing of the Three, the meaning. This is the second book of the Dark Tower, where 3 doors are presented to Roland. Each door presents complications that make it difficult to get what he needs. Each door leads to a different time period in New York City, and Roland must bring back a companion to join him on his quest. These companions become Roland's second quartet, which is one made from many. basically quartet. We'll get into it later, but it's just like you're destined to be together, essentially. So the scent notes in drawing of the three is Palo Santo, sweet lavender, vanilla birch, ice vanilla woods. So this one, you do get the Palo Santo is sitting on top. The ice vanilla woods is a little bit lighter. It's present, but it's sitting underneath to give it a foundation instead of being the star of the show. You get that Palo Santo when I first opened it, but you do get really good lavender. This is more lavender forward. It's more sweet lavender, but it's more of, you're getting like a fresh lavender. I know that, how does that sound? This isn't like your edible lavender. It's more of like an outdoorsy lavender. And the ice vanilla woods, what I love that it gives is a little frostiness to the fragrance. Beautiful for fall and winter. A really great blend. Number 7 is Echoes of Susan. The meaning behind Echoes of Susan. In the 4th installment, the book called Wizards in Glass, Roland tells his friends about the tragic death of his first love, Susan Delgado, as he and his followers try to return to the path of the beam that will lead them to the Dark Tower. Roland's story ends with the vision of Susan's death at the stake as a harvest sacrifice for conspiring with Roland. Susan's death haunts Roland for the rest of his life. Susan's scent, Echoes of Susan, is creamy Madagascar vanilla, lily of the valley, and a touch of the seduction. So seduction right out the gate is a oil blend that is Juliet has it's a dupe for Juliet Has a Gun, not another perfume. So this one is a bright, sweet floral. What I love is the creamy Madagascar vanilla with the musk is really kind of toning down the floral, but you definitely have to be someone who likes floral to like this one, but it's definitely toned down. If you tried the Witch in the Woods from my launch, this is a toned down fragrance, floral fragrance, but nonetheless it is floral, but she's more of a sweet floral. Yeah, very beautiful. Okay, number 8, Eddie's Demon. So Eddie Dean is a member of Roland's second quartet that was retrieved from behind one of the 3 doors. He was retrieved in 1987 and is an active heroin addict. He is able to overcome his demons and addictions to assist Roland on his journey to the Dark Tower. His journey stands as a testament to the capacity for change and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The scent notes are By the Fireplace type, fire roasted marshmallows, Palo Santo, and vanilla birch. The By the Fireplace is an oil that I thought I needed to do more with. It's the one that I use in Ashes to Ashes from my launch signature blends, and I knew there was more to do with it. This is a beautiful By the Fireplace. Fire roasted marshmallows is really strong in this one. The Palo Santo. The vanilla birch is taking a back seat. Vanilla birch is there, but it complements By the Fireplace so well. By the Fireplace is an oil on its own that is very stunning to me, something that is very good that I crave. The difference is this one to me leans, where Ashes to Ashes has the sweet notes to it, this one leans a little bit more on a masculine side, not a cologne side, but when you smell it, to me, I think of Eddie, you know? So where Echoes of Susan, when I smell it, there's this feminine floral aspect, kind of perfume type fragrance. When I smell this, it smells like Eddie. Yeah, it's wonderful. Okay, number 9 is Face of His Father. So the meaning behind Face of His Father. This was taken from a statement used by Roland, I have forgotten the face of my father, which is said about oneself and used as a statement of remorse and shame. So it's a statement that's used a lot throughout the Dark Tower books, where he talks about forgetting the face of his father when he feels like he has done something wrong or he regrets. And so I wanted to make a fragrance that went to that statement, so I called it Face of His Father. This is bergamot, grapefruit, petitgrain, orange blossom, cedarwood, vetiver, and musk. This is a wonderfully, I don't know, this is such a beautiful fragrance. So the bergamot in here is like a sparkling bergamot citrus that could lead this into something that you would want to wear. But to me, it smells like a spa-like fragrance, not an aromatherapy type spa fragrance, but a luxury resort type fragrance. You get that wonderful bergamot. The grapefruit you could tell there's a little bit of citrus. It's not sharp or anything, but it's more of a blender in this one. You have the orange blossom. I love orange blossom or neroli. So it's blending very well with that bergamot. And then the cedarwood and the vetiver and the musk make this like you could wear it as a very gender neutral fragrance. It's bright, it's sophisticated. It's really wonderful. It's fresh, it's bright, it's sophisticated. It's not like an odor eliminator, but it is something that you may want to put in your house to feel uplifted. To when I think about the type of energy, when I smell this gives me, it's uplifted, it's bright, but it's not orange or lemon or anything like that, if that makes sense. So that's Face of His Father. And then the last one for this video is From Gilead in the Sky. From Gilead in the Sky is dedicated for David, who was the Hawk of Roland Deschain. He is named after the character in the biblical story of David and Goliath. In his story, hawks are considered God's gunslingers. As a gunslinger in training, Roland trained and friended the hawk over the course of the years he was training. Roland chose the hawk as his weapon when he chose to try the test of manhood, which is a trial that they have to, as a gunslinger, when they're ready to gain their own guns, they have to have a test of manhood, and he decided to do it early in his training, around 14 years old. There's a reason behind that, but I will not give that away. But he decided early on to try the test of manhood. Thanks to David, he was able to pass and earn his guns, but David died in the fight. When Roland approaches the Dark Tower in the last book, he vocalizes his dedication and demands the Dark Tower to open to him. One of his dedications is, "I come in the name of David the Hawk, he of Gilead in the Sky," which is what inspired the fragrance. From Gilead in the Sky for David the Hawk. This is citrus, cedar, sheer florals, sandalwood, ozone, and musk. So what's wonderful about this one is this is an ozone fragrance, where the sheer florals, I think that name gives it a perfect description because it's kind of there, but it's just there to give it more of an ozone outside type fragrance. The sandalwood grounds the fragrance. I love that sandalwood gives like a well-rounded smoothness to a fragrance that's not offensive or aggressive. The cedar's light in here. The cedar and sandalwood play really nice and really well together. And then that wonderful bright citrus really lifts it up. So to me, it just makes me think of David the Hawk flying out in fresh air on the seaside. It's not quite giving you salty sea air. There's not a lot of salt or brine to the fragrance. It's more of just a fresh outdoors fragrance. So really, really beautiful. And that's it for the first installment. I know there was a lot of information. This is a longer one. I look forward to jumping into the next installment. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I post a video. We are going on to part 2 of the series. I'll see you then.